Hello and welcome back to Bournemouth RC. Now tonight we're going to be doing another upgrade video. My package from Custom RC Upgrades has arrived. So in here I have the front hinge pin holder. Now you may know from a couple of videos back, I broke the plastic hinge pin holder, and I got sent one from the guy from Bad Touch Breakers to make me through, so I could get out bashing at the weekend. And I was just waiting for the Custom RC one to come back in stock. They are now all in stock. He is very, very good there at upgrading his stock and getting his stuff back in. So all back in stock, and now time for me to fit the nice new one. So I have, as you may have seen in previous videos, tried different upgrades. Now at the moment there's only really sort of two upgrades that I've used that I can experience that I can actually recommend. Custom RC Upgrades, phenomenal. Their parts are just amazing. The design on them, the care taken on them, they look amazing. They're super strong, all made out of 70-75 aluminium, so incredibly strong. The other ones I recommend are M2C Racing. So Custom RC Upgrades or M2C Racing. I had the GPM chassis braces. Now they bend, the screw holes go oval. They are pretty shocking. Do not go anywhere near them. Go on to Custom RC Upgrades or M2C chassis, or sorry, M2C Racing, and get theirs. They're a lot stronger, and I won't really be recommending anything else. These are the ones to go for. So tonight is going to be a video on how to install this. I'm going to play about with camera angles today, because people have been saying to me that they love the videos, but they want us to get in a bit closer to the work for when they do it. So tonight I'm going to be trying that. If you prefer it, let me know in the videos, in the comments. Okay, so we'll get on and get cracking with this. Okay, so now we're in a little bit closer. What I'm going to first of all do is undo the 4 screws, one there, one there, one there, and one there, to take the mud flaps out of the way. Okay, once you've got that out of the way, you can then get access into your centre chassis brace. Now to do that, you do have to quickly whip the wheel off. And then that allows you access into that centre chassis brace. Okay, so obviously to lift that up out the way, we need to take off our roll cage. So I'll just swing it on over so we can have a look at that. So to do the roll cage, pull off one of the R clips at the back. You don't have to take both sides off. Start by pushing the pin all the way through, and then slide that out of the roll cage. Now, it's worth noting that mine came out nice and easy. That's because every time I put them back in, I do spray them in WD-40. If not, they tend to get a bit mucky. Move that over to one side. You can then lift that chassis brace up out of the way. So now we're back at the front. We need to undo and take off this plastic plate here. But it's worth noting that this plastic plate has to come off with the metal plate below it. There's a screw going up through the middle of your hinge pin holder to keep that all together. So to do that, undo that screw, that screw, that screw, and that screw. What you'll also need to do is take out your screws coming through from the front for these hinge pins. So I'm going to do them first. Okay, once you've got those 4 screws off, that plate's nearly ready to come up. The last screw is for the chassis brace. Now, I do struggle with this screw because it is from a GPM part, and it's one of the parts I actually really regret getting. The screws are rubbish as well as the actual part, so I might try and find another screw, just chuck in that one temporarily until I get a decent chassis brace, either from custom RC upgrades or bad touch breakers. Okay, once that's off, this part will then lift up and out. It is a tight fit at the back there, so once you've got it lifted up and out, you can then start thinking about taking off this hinge pin holder. So through the top, through those holes there, you've got 2 screws. And then underneath you have 1 screw there, and that's the one that goes through to that top plate. Okay, so before you take that off, it's worth taking note of where this little cutout is here, because that obviously needs to go back in the same place, and that's actually to allow for the movement here for that the steering arm. So that will need to go back in exactly the same place, and that came off that way up with the cutout there. So onto the nice new part. So cut out exactly the same place. Center screw through. Now it's worth noting here that as I put my center screw through, I've actually stripped a couple of threads a little bit in the plastic bit on the bottom, so I will just put a dollop of Loctite through there. So I'll make sure everything's lined up. Okay, all the holes are lined up through. You can put it on the screw or just put it through there, just because I've got my hands full at the moment, because I'm doing this so the camera can see. I'm going to drop that through there. You don't need to do this if you haven't stripped the threads, because this is going into plastic. So just be aware that I'm doing this because I stripped the threads. And it was when I first took this part off quite some time back. I took the part off not knowing that that screw was going through at the bottom, and I was trying forever to get it off, and I ended up levering it, or trying to lever it off, before I found that screw with a screwdriver, and I pulled a couple of threads through from the screw. So that nice and tight in there. I have put plenty of Loctite in there, I know, and it's quite excessive, and on my nail as well, but that is for a reason. That's because I have actually stripped those threads in the plastic on the other side. So pop that over. Now it's worth noting here that before, when that was in there, you didn't need to Loctite it because you're going into plastic. Now you're going into the aluminium, you will need to not Loctite that. So now it's all held together, and I've got a spare hand. I only need a tiny little bit of Loctite just on there. Okay, in through that hole, a little bit of fiddly, and then down through into the aluminium. I'm actually just going to lift it up because it'll be a bit easier for me to screw in. And because it's obviously going into the aluminium, you can then get that nice and tight. So exactly the same for the other one. A little bit of Loctite. Drop it in through the hole. and then do it up nice and tight. There we go. So once you've got it all back in, you then slide it in. It is a bit of a tight fit. You do have to push it right into the tower there and then down. Just before, actually, it's worth noticing that I have replaced all my bearings with rubber seal bearings. Now when the Kraton comes, it doesn't actually come with bearings here. There's 4, there's 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. They come with bronze bushes, so I replaced some of the rubber seal bearings. It does make the steering a lot nicer, so well worth doing that rubber bearing kit, the sealed rubber bearing kit, sorry, because it does make it that much stronger. So once you got that down into place, the 2 at the back here do go down into aluminium, so I will Loctite them. The 2 at the front here just go into plastic. Okay, so now we've got all 4 of those bolts up nice and tightly. Time to put the arms back on. Obviously you've got your pin. You will have 1 thick washer, and then you'll have 2 thinner ones like that. But I have a little bit of white plastic, so your 2 thinner ones will go where my little bit of white plastic is. So bolt from the front, push it through, and just sit that front shim on there. Okay, you can let the bolt slip through a little bit, because actually, because you haven't got the back ones in there as well, you have got a little bit of room to play with. So make sure your arms are the right way up, so that's flat bit towards the front. Position your drive shaft so that as you lift it up, it can go into the cup. A little bit fiddly, but there we go, slid in. Now slide that bolt through the first part of the arm. Okay, so through that first part, through the gap in the middle, and then into the second part. Now, before you obviously push through, you need to get your little bit, or your 2 bits, your 2 other shims, your 2 thinner shims. Position that in there, and then you're ready to push that bolt through and screw that up. From the front then, screw that up. Nice and tight. There we go. So I'll do exactly the same to the other side quickly, and then we'll come back to do the last little bit. So last little job to do. Centre chassis brace going into aluminium. Now this is a bolt I had lying about from actually when I took something else off, because I'm not putting that bolt back in because it was, the head was had it. Okay, so that is that drop link now in there. Sorry, the hinge pin holder in there. Everything's bolted up back together. All I need to do is slide back on my centre chassis brace and put my cage back on. So I'll quickly do that now. Okay, so now that's everything put back together. We've done mud flaps back on, centre chassis brace on, and the roll cage on as well. So we're all back up and running, all back up together. A massive thanks to Custom RC Upgrades. Lovely part for that front upper hinge pin holder. The original plastic one, which I got sent as a gift by Bad Touch Breakers. I will do exactly the same again. I'll keep an eye out on the Facebook, and if anybody has broken one, I'll ping this one up to them so they have a spare as well. If someone breaks a stock one, they can't get hold of something decent, let me know. I do highly recommend though, if you're going to change it, go for those custom RC ones, are amazing. But if you can't get one because it's out of stock or something, I'll keep hold of this, let me know, and I'll send it on to you just the same way I got it. So a massive thanks for that. Custom RC for an amazing, lovely front hinge pin there, with all the hinge pin holder. And also, as I said, they have something else as a little bit of a surprise as well. So that'll be coming up in one of the next videos. Have a look what they've sent me inside here, and how to fit it as well. So we'll see you soon. That's it from Bournemouth RC tonight. Thank you very much.